Hi, sixth graders. I miss you guys. I hope you're having a good stay-at-home time and you're not going too crazy. Hang in there. I'm with you. And we're going to be doing some important stuff about counting and how to count measures. Why in the world would we need this? Because when you sing, when you look at your music, you need to know how to figure out those rhythms. And it's more than just figuring out how to say ta and tt at the right time. So this is going to be helpful for you. It's going to be something that you're going to be using constantly when you are in choir. So for secondary and beyond. We're going to start with singing two songs, reviewing Sailor Sailor and Ristledy Rostledy, kind of a fun one, Ristledy Rostledy with all of those weird words in it. And yes, that's going to come in handy for something we're going to do a little bit later. So hopefully you can hang on. Sailor, sailor on the sea, sailor, sailor on the sea, sailor, sailor on the sea, what treasures have you brought for me? All right, let's start with warming our voices up. Don't be shy. Use your air here. Maybe you're going to surprise your dog or your cat, but go ahead and let it out. I'll go first. Woo! Okay, here we go together. Woo! Let's start high and go low. Get your arm up. Ready? Big breath. Woo! And low to high. Ready? Go. Woo! All right, so remember when you sing, use your good singing voice. You're in your head. Good support here. None of your speaking voice. All right, here we go. Sailor, sailor on the sea. Ready, and let's pat our lap while we do that. Ready, go. Sailor, sailor on the sea. Sailor, sailor on the sea. Sailor, sailor on the sea. What treasures have you brought for me? Easy. All right, Ristledy Rostledy. If you remember that, it's I married my wife in the month of June, and the chorus or the refrain is Ristledy Rostledy Mow Mow Mow. I carried her off in a silver spoon, Ristledy Rostledy Mow Mow Mow, and then the other refrain is Ristledy Rostledy Hey Bombacity Nickety Nackety Retrical Quality. And then Willoughby Wallaby Mow Mow Mow. Yes, you're going to need to practice that one. All right, so maybe today at home you're going to be going rah, 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 but maybe you'll remember it. Okay, here we go, here we go. I married my wife in the month of June. Ristledy Rostledy Mow Mow Mow. I carried her off on a silver spoon. Ristledy Rostledy Mow Mow Mow. Ristledy Rostledy Hey Bombacity Nickety Nackety Retrical Quality Willoughby Wallaby Wow Mow 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 Mow. Okay, all right, so today what we're going to do is we're going to go over our counting rules. What, the same thing as last week? No, we're going to do something a little different, a little more difficult when we count measures. So dealing with half beats today. So let's review our rules. When you count a measure, go in this order. Time signature, look at how many beats there are per measure and what kind of note gets the beat. Let's go down here to our 2-measure rhythm. How many beats per measure? 4. Easy answer. But is it the top or the bottom that tells beats per measure? Hopefully you remember it's the top. The bottom number 4 stands for a type of note that gets 1 beat. Quarter note gets 1 beat, so any ta is worth 1. That means that if a ta or a quarter note is 1, half note is always 2, a whole note is always 4, an eighth note is always 1/2, a 16th note, there's an eighth note, a 16th note is always 1/4 of a beat. So everything is based on the quarter note being 1 beat. If that were an 8, it would mean the eighth note is 1 beat. Then everything would revolve around the eighth note being 1 beat. Eighth note is 1 beat, then that means if you can put 2 eighth notes in a quarter note is now worth 2, and so on. Let's go to number 2. When we start our measure counting, we always start with the number 1. I know that sounds simple, but it's going to help us stay with it. So let's put a 1 under our first measure, and then a 1 under our next measure. And in your music notes, you can write this out and follow along. this will be very useful for you. So you can pause me if you need to take a moment to write that out. Okay, start with 1. Okay, next part. As I go, I need to count in numerical order. Even if there's an and or an e or something like that for the smaller value notes, like 8th notes and 16th notes, I want to count 1, 2, 3, 4. Make sure you don't count 2 ones in a row or something. That's intuitive also. So let's get started. But before we do the numerical order, we're going to remember number 4 as well. Use the rhythm's value. Okay, that means how many beats it's worth, to tell you what goes under it. Okay, that's the difficult part about counting measures, and I'm hopefully going to help you through that today. So we know the value of an 8th note is a half a beat. Therefore, the other half of the beat cannot be 2 yet. We haven't gotten to 2 yet. 1 is only halfway done. So then we use the and sign. I like to put a plus. It's clean and neat, looks easy. Okay, now we have finished a half a beat here and a half a beat here. So now we're ready to move on to our next number, which is 2, hopefully. You remember how to count? 2. Whoa, now we have 4 16th notes. And we know that each one of these is a quarter of a beat. So we haven't gotten to 3 yet. We have to count out each one of these symbols, and we have to give them a name. There's a lot of different names out there, but I prefer to use E and A. The reason why is because the and in the middle reminds us that this is coming at the same time this one would be. So I could superimpose 8th notes, and I could put 2 16th notes and an 8th note here and here. So 2 and now I've divided it up into smaller pieces to E and A. So the and is still in the right place. So all you're learning is 2 new letters. That didn't make sense. Music is something that marinates in your head, and the more you hear it, the more you do it, the more it makes sense. Okay, back me up though if you need to listen to that again. Let's keep going. We've finished 1/4 beat, 1/4 beat, 1/4 beat, 1/4 beat. We have 1 beat done. We've finished 2. Now we go on to 3. Okay, syncopa. We know that syncopa is 3 sounds over 2 beats. So we have to put a 4 in there somewhere as well. But we have to figure out how we're going to name this next quarter note here. The problem that we have is that the 8th note by itself is a half a beat. There's an 8th note here, an 8th note here, and we said 1 and. That's going to be useful to us figuring out this part here, or this part. Okay, so if 3 is only halfway done, we can't put anything else underneath this 8th note. Therefore, if we're now on the upbeat, we're on the and of the beat, we're going to put it on this quarter note. Okay, remember that an and can be worth a half a beat, but in this case, it can also be worth a quarter of a beat, depending on the context. So now we're on the and the and is here, in this case, worth a half, because we finished half of 3. So now the beat 3 is all the way done. We have half of it here and half of it here. But the quarter note is not done being counted because it's 1 beat, and the and stands for a half a beat. Therefore, we have to put something underneath to show the other half of the beat going by. The only thing we can do now is move on to the next beat, which is 4. Now, when you say syncopa, you don't say syncopa. So we're going to use our parentheses to show that we don't hear that second part. 3 and now we put 4 here, and now we know that this and is a half, and this 4 must also be a half, because a half and plus a half equals 1 beat, which is what a quarter note is. So we're still using the rhythm's value to tell what goes under it. Now we're on the other half of 4, so the other half of 4 is going to be a half a beat, which is and. So there we have our syncopa. Okay, we're done with that measure. We go to 1 on the next measure. Now hopefully the syncopa here is not going to be too hard to figure out. 1, we go to 2, because we're done with 1. 2 is halfway done. So we go to the and. The and stands for a half a beat in this case because the eighth note is a half a beat. So now we go to the next beat, which is 3, parentheses. 3 is now halfway done. We put the other half of 3 over here. So you might say, oh, look, it's just going to, syncopat's always going to be a number plus an and. Not always. It depends on where you were before. So just always think it through. Now we're on 3 and our last beat of the measure should be 4. Okay, another way to do this, if you're confused, is to know, well, one is one beat, or ta is one beat, and another ta is one beat. So this has got to be the first beat. This has got to be the last beat of the measure. You can do that too. All right, so we're going to count this out. And we're going to say everything out loud right now, including the parentheses, just to get it right. All right, here we go. Ready, go. 1 and 2 and a 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4. Okay, let's do it again. Ready, go. 1 and 2 and a 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4. That kind of threw you off maybe because when you got to here you're used to going fast with all these ands, so make sure that you wait. Again, let's clap it again. Ready, go. 1 and 2 and a 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4. Okay, now we're going to add the parentheses. So think about your voice bumping along and thinking through this. So and here, and, same thing. All right, here we go. We're going to clap it together. Ready, go. 1 and 2 and a 3 and 1, 2 and 4. Ooh, that's hard. Let's say it syncopat. Let's say it with tas and titis and kind of get that rhythm in our head again. Ready, titi. Titi, ticka, ticka, syncopata, syncopata. Mrs. Salzman, that's so much easier. Why do we have to count? Because counting is going to take us further than the tas and the titis will. All right, let's count it one more time. And using our and. Ready, go. 1 and 2 and a 3 and 1, 2 and 4. All right, how'd you do? Hopefully that wasn't too hard. Listen to this video again if you need some extra help or you're not quite sure. Next week we're going to do some more counting of some more difficult rhythms, so stay tuned. Hang in there, and I look forward to seeing you soon.